Intersection, intersection, magazine, magazine.
Intersection Magazine Podcast. Welcome to Intersection Magazine Podcast. Today I was privileged to have attended an event that was sponsored by Africa Development Bank and an European Organization for Sustainable Development. I wouldn't have attended if it wasn't for prior engagement with Barbara Kasekende, who works with Africa Development Bank. We had a bit of a conversation a few years back when she presented at the TEDx event in Luboa, and I was thrilled to hear her speak, especially her passion about what she does and what they do as a bank. I had a bias for being there because I wanted to find out what they were doing for startups, being a person in the ecosystem, in media especially. And so I wanted to find out what the African Development Bank was doing, for example, for funding, for what kind of solutions they had for packages for small businesses, small and medium enterprises. And so through interaction with her, I got interested in looking a little bit further into Africa Development Bank, or rather Uganda Development Bank. So when I got this email yesterday about an event that was going to be based on some of these subjects, I got interested. So the first day was really about summarizing what the program was going to be about and engaging multi-level stakeholders about how to get involved with this particular program. The best way to describe this is if you go back to the late 2000s, there were systems, or in terms of web design projects, called portals. A portal was a place designed to function like a website, but that was full of information that you could benefit from. If it was a page maybe dedicated to industry, it would have industry information and a bunch of stakeholders participating in that particular portal. The portal is a door, but it was like something representing a lot more than just a standard website. It was a place where you could get information, you could interact. Now, what I think has changed in our current age, especially with what they call Web3, is we're now in a space where we are engaging more and more with information and with websites and with the data that comes in from these websites. And now with not just this current age of artificial intelligence and data, what what Uganda Development Bank has come up with is a system works almost like a supercomputer that helps you to navigate a couple of areas that they've identified where you can submit your proposals. You can have your proposals looked at and ironed out. Your proposals will be based on challenges that are recognized or identified, and then these challenges could be transformed into opportunities in which then different companies can bid for, present opportunities based on those challenges or solutions based on those challenges, and then they can access funding from all the different players that are part of the system. So it allows, or it makes the job of Uganda Development Bank and its partners a little easier in terms of identifying who's building and who's creating solutions and how to get them through the system faster. So there are about 5 categories. There's energy, there's agriculture and food, infrastructure, technology, and then industrial real estate and construction. Now, let me give you a bit of an example. I've been interacting with a tool called Bordy. I found Bordy online. Bordy is actually a supercomputer. A couple of months ago, I was looking into creating some interactions with the mental health fraternity around developing tools or maybe interacting with regards to health, anxiety, depression, tackling those kinds of topics for people who are in the entrepreneurial space. Bordy got into a conversation with me. Bordy is literally this artificial intelligence tool, very intelligent artificial intelligence, literally a supercomputer. So Bordy got into a conversation with me, started talking to me about how I was doing well with my podcast. My podcast was reaching quite a number of people, but Bordy felt like I needed to identify one flagship, build around that flagship, and then use everything else that I had worked on to fund or to be channeled through that flagship product. So Bordy was smart enough to look through the internet to identify what Nicholas Kanda does, what Intersection Magazine podcast does, look through my content, make suggestions in terms of how I can improve my content, and then suggestions in terms of what I needed to produce and how I needed to improve my podcast. Now, its conversational style of this tool called Bordy is really impressive. And we got into a conversation with this tool, started developing programs or episodes or seasons. She even identified how I create my podcast. So we started identifying topics to tackle or themes to cover for seasons in which we would be dealing with these ideas, subject ideas around the environmental health. So I'm saying all of this to say that the system that Rice has created, incidentally called Sarah, is built around the same ideas where a company or Uganda Development Bank and its partners identify um, a single topic or single area of challenge and then make it public through their portal, through their system. Different entrepreneurs or technology entrepreneurs would then log into this specific site, identify challenges or maybe what they normally face when they're dealing with tech challenges, identify those specific challenges, and then come up with solutions. So then you've got proposals being submitted, for example, about those challenges, and then the system goes through all those proposals, identifies the best, let's say best three, and then those solutions are then developed and streamlined or created and managed through the system. The system goes back and forth between those participants who've been identified, helping the team, management team at Uganda Development Bank to find out who's the creme de la creme in terms of output. Then, of course, and they've come up with a philosophy that can help um, create a system that's where development is the key focus, and rapid development is a key focus for different economies. Now, for as an example, in terms of what we were talking about today from the keynote, one of the things that stood out for me was the other thing that the keynote speaker mentioned was the fact
Intersection, intersection, magazine, magazine.
Intersection Magazine Podcast.